Des petites boîtes avec boissons chaudes qui vous attendent, petit chocolat, un thé.
Esta semana en News 24, Israel bajo ataque. News 24 en español trae el análisis y la información de los acontecimientos de la guerra Espadas de Hierro.
Entrevistas exclusivas, reportes desde la zona de guerra, la reacción de los países hispanoparlantes.
News 24, el único medio en español que te mantiene informado y conectado con la comunidad latina en Israel. News 24, únicamente en i24 News.
Special broadcast here on I-24 News. It's day 96 of the war here in Israel, but on the brink of a breakthrough. The Israeli War Cabinet convening tonight. On the agenda, a new Qatari proposal. Its components, seemingly the exile of Hamas leaders out of the Gaza Strip, IDF withdrawal in exchange for the release of Israeli hostages. At the same time, the Egyptians are putting forward their own renewed bid. Are the two separate or related? Either way, both include an end to the war. Can Israel say yes to that? Families of the hostages calling to approve any such deal. It gives us hope, they say tonight, after nearly 100 days. And on the brink of a decision making on the northern front as well, will the oxymoron of contained escalation become a practicality between Hezbollah and Israel? And talks of the future take over the present. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Ramallah today telling Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas the PA must be reformed, thinking of the day after. But are angry Palestinians protesting right outside demonstrate the distance between wishful thinking and reality? And with all options very much on the table, IDF Chief of Staff Herzi Halevi reassuring the soldiers nothing can stop you.
You know the job. After what you've already done so far, you know how to deal with this. You can destroy every village in Lebanon. We'll put you there, and you'll do what you need. We have a big job ahead of us, and we're going to bring good results.
And we begin this broadcast by heading down south. I-24 News correspondent Robert Swift with the I-24 News team there on the ground. Robert, an old new Qatari proposal has said exile for Hamas leaders, release of hostages, and IDF withdrawal. At the same time, an Egyptian one. What do we know?
Yeah, it's a fairly messy picture. There's a lot of different options being floated around, and at the minute it's unclear which, if any of them, will be sufficiently pleasing to all parties involved to make some sort of headway. Just with regards to the idea of an exile of Hamas's leadership, earlier this evening, Osama Hamdan, one of the political chiefs from Hamas based in Lebanon, said essentially the idea of exile was an illusion. And in his words, the idea of disarming the resistance is naive and not rooted in reality. So Hamas appearing to be pouring cold water on that option. Now, in other developments here in the Gaza area, the Israeli military has released information just in the last hour or two with regards to the killing of two journalists on Sunday. These were two journalists, Hamza Wael Daoud and Mustafa Thuria, who were killed in an Israeli airstrike on a vehicle that they were in on Sunday. Now, there's been some conflicting reports as to what was behind this, with immediately after the strike, the Israeli military saying that in its view, those killed were terrorists, and that they had been flying a drone from their vehicle. Now, this evening, the Israeli military has released documentation which it says lists these two individuals as members of armed groups within Gaza, with Dadou being a member of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad involved in electronic engineering for that organization, and Thuria being involved as a deputy squad commander in one of Hamas's units. Now, it's worth bearing in mind that Dadou is a well-known name, with his father being the bureau chief for Al Jazeera within Gaza, a man who has seen fatalities in his family during this war. His wife and I believe his grandchildren had already been killed, with the fighting in Gaza being one of the deadliest incidents for journalists in years.
Yeah. Robert, briefly before we let you go, IDF spokesperson Daniel Hagari saying tonight that tunnels in Khan Yunis in which hostages were held in inhumane conditions were found. Can we say anything further?
The impression given in this incident is the army found this tunnel. They saw signs, including items and possessions, which to them suggested that captives had been held there, but that they had been removed prior to the army's arrival.
I-24 News correspondent Robert Swift, thank you very much for this. And from south, we will be heading north shortly, but now we want to welcome here in studio Mr. Gonen Ben Yitzhak, former Shin Bet agent. Thank you very much, Mr. Ben Yitzhak, for joining us. Well, I want us to begin with something that could easily be, pushed sideways, perhaps not even part of the news cycle at all, because we are obviously naturally busy with the present and the future, and yet every single day there's a harsh reminder of the not so distant past, how it all began in one of many operations today in Khirbat Akhzea, if I'm probably mispronouncing it, in the Gaza Strip. Israeli soldiers found covers for challahs of Shabbat, children's bicycles, Tupperware, things that belonged to members of the Nir Oz community that was slaughtered on October 6th.